We'll see how it goes. All right, we're officially live.
Hey yo. All right, we're live. Look at that. We're YouTube living. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, you want to pepper me with some questions or you want me to filibuster this thing?
Give a little intro so people know what we're doing here.
Hey party people, Todd Tremonti here with the one and only Mason Goss. And typically, if we were not social distancing, I'd be right there with Mason in studio and we would have better lighting and better audio and better video and better everything. And we would be shooting videos. We try to put out a half dozen to a dozen videos each and every week on great educational real estate content, usually focused on the Dallas Fort Worth area, but often with relevancy statewide for Texas and then certainly nationwide. We do a lot of videos on the market as a whole and then what it looks like to make a move to or within the Dallas Fort Worth area. And we'll do more of that in the future as soon as it's appropriate to kind of get more folks in the same room together. But we really wanted to deliver some of that same information and content and really encouragement this week without skipping a beat with a slightly different format. So that's kind of what we're up to. We've got some questions that have been asked repeatedly. I've got questions coming in right now because that's kind of the world we live in, right? Whether I'm on the radio show or here shooting videos with you, the role that I've sort of grown into, whether it be in the local brokerage, the local real estate team, our coaching and consulting company, or um, writing or speaking or recording, is basically in answering the public's questions or bringing ideas that I think would be relevant to the public, to the marketplace. So we want to still do that here in a way that's easy for you to consume. So Mason, feel free to jump in, pepper a question, redirect, slow me down, or whatever. But the big question that I've been getting from a lot of people and trying to answer for a lot of people is, what's happening in the real estate market and what do I think is going to happen over the next few months. I've literally received that twice this morning. And many of our team members on the Todd Tremonti home selling team here in Dallas Fort Worth are asking me because they are being asked by dozens of clients, right? So let me give you a short answer to that with a very specific timeline on what I believe is happening right now, what I think will happen over the next matter of weeks, and then what I think is likely to happen the remainder of this year. Before I do that, though, there is always the case. I mean, if you've ever watched a recording of me, audio, video, or otherwise, you've probably heard me rail against major media headlines, right? Now, I'm not this alarmist that thinks all media is the worst thing ever. But the reality is, if you work at a newspaper or a website in the real estate side of things, your primary goal is eyeballs. Your primary motivation is attention to your headline or your article, clicks on your article or whatever. It's not to advocate for the consumer. It's not a fiduciary responsibility to put a home buyer or home seller or investor's needs ahead of your own. It's to get people to read, watch, listen to your stuff. And that's a tricky deal because you're presenting yourself as someone who's delivering accurate, reliable information, but really your primary motive is eyeballs and ears. It's not, those two things are not necessarily compatible. So my goal is to be an advocate for buyers, sellers, and investors, and real estate agents and brokers and team leaders. Um, have tried to build multiple businesses in a way that I am never in conflict with what is best for our clients, our prospective clients, our friends, our neighbors, our community. And to the best of our ability, we are going to share information that is good and accurate for you, even when it's not the best information for us. For example, there are many people right now that probably should not buy or sell a house in the current situation. Now, I think there's more people who should go ahead and move forward if you're ready. But there are a lot of people whose jobs, whose incomes are in question right now. obviously this is not a time that I would say to you, go and buy and sell real estate. That's what would be best for me as a broker who earns income off of commissions, but that's not best for you. So I'm not going to tell you to do that. That's just an example. But the headlines right now are saying a lot of scary things because scary things tend to sell. Scary things get read. Scary things get attention. And right now, those scary headlines, at least for the Dallas Fort Worth area, are specifically speaking. I mean, I've got some in front of me right now. Dallas home prices could get hammered by economic shakeout, right? Well, could get, you can say anything you want to say if you're going to follow it with could, right? A UFO could land in my backyard right now. I mean, I guess technically that's possible. I'm not sure where my belief system is on UFOs, but I can tell you that theoretically that's possible, right? But there's a bunch of headlines like that. There are some headlines on the other end, which would say with near all-time low interest rates, now's still a great time to buy. I would agree with that one more than the could get hammered one, but it's dangerous within the world of real estate, and I would say within the rest of the world too, to live in those extremes, either one, right? So here's my timeline that I promised you, right? Here's what's happening right now. Right now, there's a tremendous amount of uncertainty in the marketplace. But here's what we know. Here's what is certain. Mortgage rates are near all-time lows. They've crept up a tiny bit from the other day when they were like rock bottom, but they're still unbelievably attractive, freakishly attractive, right? Mortgage interest rates are crazy, crazy low. Most of the time, you're going to have a mortgage for somewhere between 10, 15, and 30 years, right? So unbelievably long term. So to make a decision about capitalizing on a huge financial opportunity, like a mortgage rate that might be 1 or 2% lower than it was a few weeks ago, which compared to what we were talking about, if you were at 4% and now you can be at 3%, that is a massive leap forward, right? So the difference in 3% and 4% is 1%, but really it's like 33% or 25% different, depending on the way you look at the gains you could make, right? Based on the amount of interest you would pay over 15 or 30 years, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of benefit for some people, tens of thousands of dollars for most people. And there's just almost nobody that would not benefit from that if you and your family and your finances are ready. So that's what's happening right now. That's what we know right now. We still have very low inventory. We have unbelievably low rates. Homes are still selling at very, very, very high prices. Our team has sold multiple houses this week alone. We've put multiple properties on the market. We've signed multiple new clients. We had several properties sell over the last few days that sold over asking price. We had a couple of properties with multiple offers still. So there are still very good things happening in the market. But are there also some bad things happening in the market? Yes, because there are some real estate agents, there are some buyers, there are some sellers that just assume that with the market being like the global economy, with the community, the society being a little bit in upheaval with the coronavirus and the stock market and the political upheaval, that things, quote, should be bad. And so then they go out and fulfill that prophecy, that idea, that headline by saying, we should offer less on homes, or maybe we should sell our house for less, or the market's going to be bad, maybe we should wait. They're creating their own negative market. The actual real market out there is still very positive for those of us that are active and full-time and attentive to it. So that's what's happening right now. Here's what I think is going to happen over the next, let's just say 2 to 8 weeks. I don't really know exactly what the timeline of this virus is. I know that
it's changing daily, so it's kind of hard
it's
to know.
changing daily, and we as a planet right now are trying to shorten this timeline. Right now, when we hear people say flatten the curve, right? I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a virus expert. I'm not a doctor of any kind, right? I do enjoy a Dr. Pepper, sidebar there for a little levity, actually. But here's the deal. I'm not an expert in those things, but from what I can tell, my understanding is the goal right now is actually to decrease the intensity of the virus, meaning the number of people that get it on any single day. And the way we do that is by actually stretching out the time that we as a society will actually deal with the coronavirus, right? So if we can spread out, like if you look at a graph, and if everyone got it on one day, it goes from 0 to mountaintop, right? Like 0 to 100% in one day. That's like a massive worst case scenario peak. The more we flatten the curve out, instead of it having a massive number of people that get it really high, the graph kind of slowly creates this hill, but it's a longer graph, right? So instead of like everyone's got it, a lot of people die and then we're over it. It's like, hey, people are getting it and recovering kind of all at the same time. This is a gradual hill. So I don't know the timeline of that. But as far as the market prediction right now, I think, I don't know, 2 weeks to 8 weeks, something like that. I think we're going to continue in this period of like, there's plenty of opportunity in real estate, but there's kind of this wonky confusion, uncertainty, right? So just imagine that's like the next few weeks to the next couple of months. The next phase after that, I believe, will be this confident recovery. I don't know how long that would be, a couple of weeks where like, I think we can come out for air and I definitely want to buy a house. Like, let's do that. And then I think the reins will come off, right? The gates will open up and we will see the best real estate market we've ever seen. Now, I'm speaking specifically about Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. There are other markets, if you're in New Rochelle, New York, your market's very different than ours right now. I have a consulting client who's not in New Rochelle, but who's not terribly far away in New York, and they're seeing, a very different response than we are. Now, they still had an unbelievably great week of selling houses. I mean, really, really successful. And I spoke with him yesterday, but their market's going to be very different. I mean, they've got more people sick and more people dying from this, and so there's going to be a very different, response and recovery. I don't know if it's necessarily better or worse, but it's clearly different. So that's my prediction of timeline for the Dallas Fort Worth area. Obviously, I'm giving you some ranges there, but what I see pretty clearly are the next few phases that we're going to go through. At the moment, it's confusion, and a lot of people's response to that confusion is inactivity. Although I'm telling you, a lot of other people's response to that confusion is capitalize on the opportunity. Is jump in, get low interest rates, buy while people are nervous, sell while I can get all my equity, cash out and figure out what's next. So there's a lot of that. So I don't know if those are equal groups, right? There's probably more confusion and inactivity, but there is a sizable group that says jump in and seize the opportunity. I think that next phase will be kind of opportunity coexisting with wonkiness, but a little bit more settling into, okay, this is what we've got, a little bit more understanding around it. That next phase will be very short-lived, but like, okay, I think it's okay to come out now and buy and sell houses. And then quickly, as soon as that is like, okay, that's met with optimism, then I think we're going to see an explosion of all the buying and selling and investing that would have been done during this next 2 to 8 or 10, 2 to 12 weeks, that kind of thing, is going to explode. So my guess is that's probably like a May into June time period where normally the spring season would be gangbusters and summer would be hot and heavy. We're seeing a spring season that is kind of dampened by uncertainty and then kind of this like, is it okay to come up for air? And then I think we're going to see a summer that just is really powerful. Now, there's obviously a lot that can happen between now and then that could make that even better, or certainly could make that not as optimistic as I'm saying. That might have to do with, banks failing. I mean, I don't think we're going to see as much of that. I think the government has been as responsive as they can. I think institutions have been as responsive as they can. I think you're seeing a lot of wage earners in consumer-facing industries, restaurants, retail, that are really suffering. A lot of those people would have been the buyers and the sellers of property. But I think some of them will still go ahead and sell because they've got equity to capture and to fund providing for their families. I think hopefully some of them will be kept afloat with some government action. And as quickly as we can respond, there will be I hope, and I anticipate like an uproar, an upswelling of support for local businesses, and a reestablishment of a lot of employment. I think there's going to be some lasting pain and scars from this thing. But I do think, from a real estate perspective, home values are going to hold. Supply and demand will battle through this thing, and we will see a really, really healthy market on the other side. If I'm wrong, I'll let you know. But at the moment, I believe that's where things are pointing. What do you think, Mason? Where do you want to go from here?
Speak to people who maybe were thinking about moving to Texas. I know in 2008, uh, when the recession hit, people are kind of looking at this time as maybe uh, a virus-caused recession coming up. How did the Dallas Fort Worth area respond during that time? And you can maybe speak to the economic impact and the real estate impact of a recession on DFW.
Um, I will do that exact thing. Just because we're kind of playing it fast and loose here, Mason, I just sent you a Slack to so that our team can jump on here. They're asking questions that we're answering right now. So the 2008-9 sort of economic downturn, mortgage crisis, whatever you want to call that, was very real in Dallas Fort Worth, but it was nowhere near as catastrophic, dramatic, painful in Dallas Fort Worth as it was in many other parts of the country. Really, Texas as a whole weathered that storm probably as well, if not better, than just about any other state in the union. Specifics of that, we still had foreclosures, we still had short sales, and we had more than we had had in a long, long time. But we kind of stabilized. We really, our market basically paused as opposed to tanking. Sorry, I'm getting a semi-urgent message here. We're good. But we didn't see property values fall off a cliff. We didn't see people who had bought and owned and maintained homes well getting just massively hit hard. We saw a lot of people who had just recently bought homes and some people who had overbought homes unable to maintain mortgage payments. We saw people who had blatantly misled or been deceitful in mortgage applications with real estate agents, with home buyers, not be able to survive mortgage rate adjustments. And we saw people lose some jobs. We saw people who were right on the edge of affordability in their homes lose their homes. What we did not see is property values take 10, 15, 20% hits. We had some pockets in our communities that took 1 and 2 and 3% corrections because they had just been so rapidly improving. But for the most part, our market just kind of like stalled out, slipped out of gear, and sat in neutral for a few years, and then began to recover faster than most other parts of the country. But from 2008 through 11 or 12, our market was just kind of, it was just kind of stuck on a plateau, right? We had been climbing really quick. We kind of stalled out. Very few areas dipped. The ones that did dipped short term, kind of self-corrected. And then we just kind of sat flat for 2 to 4 years, depending on what part of town you were in. Then we began to recover fairly quickly. And really from 11 or 12 through now, we have seen a very healthy, steady market where in our best years, we were seeing 7, 8, 9% appreciation. In our worst years, we were seeing 3% appreciation. I think, historical averages for Dallas Fort Worth are 3 or 4% appreciation per year, but those numbers are unreliable because the market is just changing faster than it's ever changed, even year to year in good years. Um, but I do think appreciation is not promised, it's not guaranteed, but we are absolutely still seeing homes appreciate right now. Um, but obviously, people are questioning that, and what are the next few weeks or months going to look like? They're going to be exciting, and that's not always a good thing. But I have every reason to believe that our population growth, our economic health will recover. There's going to be some bruises. There's going to be some scars. Like we said, restaurants, retail, bars, man, there's such thin margins in those businesses that some of them are going to go away. Hopefully, they'll be able to come back. Some of them are going to need to borrow, and I think there's going to be some lending opportunities for them. And hopefully, we as community can go back and support them and help them recover. But for the sake of time, we're going to wrap up here in a second. But that's kind of a tone of the market, the timeline that we see coming. And we'll update you if we feel like that changes. But I want to encourage you, take care of your family, keep people safe, stay away from unnecessary interactions. But people are buying and selling houses right now. We're able to do that with a lot of virtual tools. We're able to do that with a no touch home showing where we don't touch people's properties and their stuff doesn't touch us. We're still moving that ball forward. We're doing so carefully and cautiously, but we're still seeing buyers get fair deals, but still have to compete. And we're seeing our sellers continue to get well over the average price and under the average time. Obviously, we guarantee to do that. You can always find out more information on our website at overunderagent.com and below this video. But if we can help you, we'd love to help you. If we can just answer a question for you, we'd always love to do that. You can go to that same website, overunderagent.com. Even if you're not buying, selling, or investing right now, we want to be a resource for you. Comment below. We check every single comment. If we can answer you there, we will. If it's more appropriate to take it offline, we'll do that. But overunderagent.com is a resource. You can send us a comment anytime. And we'll talk to you on another video or live cast or something like that very soon. Over now.